but thank you very much for the question. Okay, so that leads us on to the second question that we have, which is that says it goes something like this: My mum pulls my hair and hits me for little things. What do I do? She told me to clean something up, then expected me, without even telling me, to come and help her with something. Is this abuse or discipline? So, firstly, a great question. Thank you very, very, very much for the question. I thought it was a really, really interesting question. Um, I want to apologize. I'm really, really sorry. You know, I think very strongly that all of us in life, some of us get the we win the lottery on the parents that we're given, and unfortunately, some of us don't. I'm writing a book at the moment, and one of the things, the book is going to be about lessons that I've learned leading up to 30. And one of the lessons that I have learned in that book, or I'm going to be writing about and I'm going to be articulating in the book, is a lesson that I talk about as that every single one of us in life has an area which is going to be our demon, which is going to be our nemesis, which we're going to fight for the rest of our life. For some of us, is the relationship between our parents. For some of us, it's alcohol. For some of us, it's smoking. For some of us, it's our body image. No matter what we do, we never ever feel like we love our body. For some of us, is weight. For some of us, is our voice. We don't like the way that our voice sounds. And so every single one of us in life, I've observed, seems to have a battle. It can be an internal battle, it can be an external battle, but there seems to be a battle that we all face. And what I would share with you is I have noticed that a lot of people have their parents and the relationship with their parents as a battle. That everything else in their life might be fantastic. Every area in their life might be brilliant. Their careers flourishing, their friendships are amazing, their kids are happy, they are motivated, but the one area they can never seem to master is the area of their parents, right? They always argue with their parents never accepts them, their parents never get them, they're constantly conflicting with ideologies, with values, with behaviors, with habits with their parents. And so I want to just say I'm really sorry if this is your area, and you will notice as you get older, because I think the way that you wrote this question obviously would lead me to feel that you're somebody who's younger. So as you get older, if this is your area, I'm really sorry to say that this is what you're experiencing. But I would also add to you and tell you that this isn't really that unique. As I've explained to you, the situation that you're going through isn't new. There are a lot of people who have really just dysfunctional relationships with their parents. And that kind of leads me to one of the major things that I want to tell you, which is that one of the reasons why a lot of parents treat their children in this way is because a lot of parents simply um, do what they've been told. A lot of parents simply repeat the cycle. A lot of parents simply repeat what the parenting that they receive from their parents, and that doesn't obviously excuse what they're doing, and that doesn't make what they're doing okay. But I would share with you that many, many, many parents are simply I read a book which is called Conscious Parenting, and in that book, um, uh, the author, Dr. Shefali Tabari, talks about the fact that a lot of parents can never really accept their kids for who they truly are. And the reason why parents can never accept their children for who they truly are is because they've never really accepted themselves. Now, to accept yourself for who you truly are cannot be by accident, right? That has to be a conscious decision that you have to make. You have to do work on yourself. You have to look at yourself and look at your flaws and look at your pros and just say, well, this is the way that I'm built, this is the way that I am, and I take it all. And of course, I say that that isn't something that you can arrive to. Of course, you can arrive to that decision by default, by accident, because everyone has a certain leaning. Clearly, some people are naturally good at leadership, but the rest of us have to actually work at it. Some people are naturally good at singing, but the rest of us have to work really hard at being good at singing. So, unfortunately, most parents aren't conscious. Most parents aren't aware of their behavior. Most parents don't actually know what it is that they're doing. I love a book that I read which talked about the fact that many parents, if you get every area of life which most of us consider important, you have to take tests for, you have to take exams for, like to get your driving in license, you have to take a theory test, you have to take a practical exam, you have to spend hours practicing. But the one area which is probably the single most important area, which is raising a child, is the one area where there's no manual, there's no exams, there's nothing. We just expect that when people have kids that they will just know what to do. And there are, as I said earlier on, there are some parents who genuinely, they just know that it is built in all of us. But there are some people who are naturally great nurturers. But also, one of the other things that I wanted to share with you is a lot of, in saying that a lot of parents are unconscious, a lot of parents have kids not with the intention of their kids being a vehicle for them, or them being a vehicle to bringing a child into this world so that the child can become whoever they want to be. A lot of people become parents because they are just simply following what they think they should do. Well, everyone around me is having kids. Well, everyone around me tells me that I should have kids. So, well, surely I should have kids. I'm getting pressure from my mum to have kids. I'm getting pressure from society that I should have kids. So a lot of people don't have kids because they've deliberately chosen, and they're like, do you know what? I want to bring a child into this world. I want to help them flourish. I want to help them become all that they want to become. I want to help them figure out what is important to them, what their value is. A lot of people, they don't start from that playing field. They don't start from that space. So a lot of the time, they're just kind of making it up, doing whatever they want. It's always interesting that a lot of people read books when they first get pregnant about how to keep the baby healthy, how to go through pregnancy, how to do with cravings. But most people, as soon as they kind of get past age, I would say maybe 3 or 4, most parents give up on books. They don't read anymore about how to raise a child, right? And so what ends up happening is that they believe that the time that they spent with their 3 and 4 year old is who the 3 or 4 year old is when they're 17. But of course, we know that a 9 year old, a 6 year old is completely different to a 3 and 4 year old. And so a lot of parents tend to become detached with who their kid is. They're not attuned to who their child is today, right now, right? So I just thought that I would explain that to you. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is this is what I would do, and we're talking about strategy now, and we're talking about things that you can practically do. So I'm talking as if you were my sister now. If you were my sister and we were having this conversation, this is what I would say to you. I would say to you, depending on your age, that you want to basically go to your mum and say, Mum, can we talk at the dinner table? And when you make this statement, most adults in the world universally know that when somebody says, can we talk, universally as adults, we know that that means something is serious. So use those specific words. Can we talk at the dinner table? Now, when I say this, do not speak to your mum about what I'm going to share with you in a moment when she is doing the washing. Do not speak to her when she is on the phone. Do not speak to her when she's on the iPad. Do not have the conversation with her when she is walking upstairs. Do not have the conversation with her when she's watching TV. Do not have the conversation with her when she's cooking dinner. This conversation that you're going to have with your mum, or you can have with your mum, because obviously it's your life and you've got to decide whether you're ready to take that step or not, has to be had at a dinner table. It has to be had face to face with no interactions. Do not have the conversation with your mum when there's carnage happening around the world. Do not have the conversation with her when she's drunk. Do not have the conversation with her when she's about to go out. So you have to choose a time when you know that your mum is going to give you the full attention. And then you say to your mum, Mum, can we talk at the dinner table? There is something really important that I need to talk to you about. And then when if of course, now look, I can, in me saying this, your mum might say, well, tell me now, and then you say, I need to talk to you at the dinner table, right? Whatever she says, unless you're both sat at the dinner table, do not have this conversation with her, right? If she might say, no, I'm not interested, completely ignore you and go off it, in which case do not continue the subject. But if she does, then go and sit at the dinner table, and then here's what I want you to do. I want you to explain to your mum the things that she's doing, and then after it, follow it with how it's making you feel. Do not talk about words such as it's abusive, I don't like the way that you're disciplining me, because abuse and discipline are words that can be debated, but feelings cannot be debated. I can't say to you that the way that you're feeling is not true, because I don't know the way that you're feeling, right? Nobody can dispute how somebody's making them feel, but we can dispute discipline, because some people say, well, it's okay for me to hit my child, that's discipline. But somebody else might say, well, you beating your child is child abuse, right? You might say it's abuse, but I might say no, it's just tough love. So all of those things can be debated. But what you then do is you say, when you sat at the dinner table, you say, Mum, every time you pull my hair, it makes me feel like I'm feeling weak. It makes me feel like I'm not important. It makes me feel like you don't love me. And so you want to talk a lot about your emotions and the way it's impacting you and the way it's making you feel, right? Emotions. Do not talk about facts. You want to talk about emotions, 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 emotions. So that's a strategy that I would share with you. The other thing that I would share with you is that, look, if your mum has a conversation, and the reason why I said you need to have this conversation with your mum is because, as I said to you, some people are unconscious. Some of us make mistakes and we don't actually realize we've made the mistakes. We make errors and we don't actually realize we've made the errors, right? I have made mistakes myself and I didn't realize I'd made the mistakes. I've said things to people that I didn't realize were bad and I didn't realize were detrimental to people. I didn't realize, right? And so when people told me, I was like, whoa, okay, I didn't realize. And so I rectify my behavior. If your mum doesn't rectify her behavior and isn't interested in having a conversation with you, then you would, and this is advice to you, you can do whatever it is that you want, is that you need to start having a backup plan. And what I mean by this is that you want to now begin to study why people do the things that they do. Because if you have a really difficult parent, the reality of life is that most people are not going to change. Most adults, unless something radical, and I mean they're in a car crash, they lose a child, they get divorced, most people do not change their life when they've gone kind of past age about 25. Most people are exactly the same at 25 as they're going to be at about age 60, because it's just so difficult to change your behavior and your attitude that most of us just don't do it. So what I would say to you is, if you have a conversation with your mum and your mum is not interested, she's like not interested in having the conversation, she doesn't listen to you, then you know your mum isn't going to change. And you've been sat at the dinner table and you shared with her how it feels and she's still not done anything about it. This is when you then go to plan B. And plan B is, you now know your mum is going to be the way that she is, and you basically have to manage your mum, okay? Because you can't change her, right? And your mum isn't a problem for you to solve. So that means you're going to have to manage her, which means that you need to start studying your mum. You need to study, well, why does my mum pull my hair? What was my mum's background? So you want to start studying, for example, people like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins has something which he calls the 6 human needs. Research the 6 human needs. What are they all about? You want to read books like Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. What else do you want to read? You want to read books like The Conscious Parenting, right? Because all of these books, what they're going to do is they are going to allow you to understand your mum's behavior, where it's coming from, what triggers it, what does it mean. Because if you cannot change somebody, the only way that you can live with them is to understand why it is that they're doing what they're doing, and therefore you don't become judgmental of what it is that they're doing to you. So for example, if you have an autistic son and your autistic son sometimes goes crazy and screams, if you understand his autism and what triggers it and why it happens, you then don't get angry when your son loses it and goes crazy. Do you understand what I mean? And that's essentially, now, in me saying that, that doesn't, listen to me very carefully, that doesn't mean that the behavior that your mum is doing or doing to you is okay. But what it does mean is that you're going to learn how to protect yourself. You're going to learn how to set up boundaries. You're going to learn when the patterns that she goes through, and when you know the patterns, you can now start predicting them. When you can start predicting them, you can start to put up set yourself up in such a way that you can start to defend yourself from some of them. So you know, whenever she gets heated or she gets wound up, you need to go upstairs, okay, or whatever it may be. But I hope that kind of has led you and has helped you, put you on the path to answering your question. But thank you very, very, very much for the question. I really appreciate it. I thought it was a great question. Okay, so that then leads us on to the next one, which says, I am 17 and my parents have yet to buy me a car while all my